Hello everyone, I'm Rachel and welcome to Rachel's Eight-Legged Wonders. So today what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the differences between tarantulas and true spiders. The term true spider is a taxonomic term as well as a term we use in the hobby to differentiate between a tarantula type spider and a regular spider. However, the term, in my opinion, can be kind of confusing, especially to someone who's new to the hobby. If we change the terminology we use a little bit, it might help. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what those differences are. Let me start by saying first, all spiders are in the phylum Arthropoda. Arthropods. Arthropods include insects, they include arachnids, they include crustaceans like crabs and lobsters and little, what do you call them, the little miniature looking lobsters, the ones that live in the rivers. What are those called? Crawdads, crayfish, there we go. So anything with jointed appendages is a arthropod. Now under arthropod, under that phylum Arthropoda, we have the subphylum Chelicerata. Chelicerae or Chelicerae, however you'd like to say it, is the term for the specifically modified mouth parts of arachnids. As we know with tarantulas and regular spiders, the chelicerae are fangs. The subphylum Chelicerata refers to animals that have jaws modified with chelicerae. Just below that we have the order. The order is Araneae. All spiders, whether they be the true spiders or tarantulas or trapdoor spiders, they are all under this order Araneae. That includes all spiders. So I've actually heard people say, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video, I've heard people say that, you know, don't call my tarantula spiders. They're not spiders, they're tarantulas. It's different. Well, not exactly. So I wanted to kind of touch on that. So let's break it down a little bit, some of the differences. We have the araneomorph spider, which are your true spiders. Those are your more advanced, non-primitive spiders. And then our tarantulas and things like the true trapdoor spider and the purse web weaver, purse web spider I should say, which is present here in the southeast as well, those fall under the megalomorph spiders. So again, both completely good spiders, they're just two different morphs of the same basic creature. So now within that, I would like to point out this book. This is Spiders of the Carolinas. It's by L.L. Gaddy. If you live in the southeast of the United States, this is a fantastic, fantastic field guide to have. Not only does he have gorgeous pictures of some of the spiders you will find, but he has a whole section in the beginning here that's just all about spider biology, which is really fantastic. It gives you a really good starting point to learn the basics and even something further than the basics in spider biology. And even if you don't live in the southeast US, a lot of these species you're going to find nationwide. So either way, this is a good book to have, especially if you're in the southeast. This book also does tell you a little bit of the differences between the two, the araneomorph and the megalomorph spiders. So I'd like to expand on those a little bit as well. I'm a biologist myself, and when I was in school I focused on arachnology, so I learned a lot about them. However, I'm still learning and I always want to continue to learn. So if you guys ever have some cool tidbits of information to offer me, please feel free to drop that in a comment. So let's talk about some of the morphological or the physical differences between these two morphs of spiders. When you have an araneomorph spider, your true spider, araneomorph spider, for an araneomorph spider, their jaws, which are fangs, are oriented in a way that's called labidognathic. Labidognathic jaws. What that means, let's pretend this is the top of the spider's head. These are the spider's jaws. Can you see this okay? So they're kind of oriented like scissors. At rest, the fangs are going to be kind of crossed each other like this. And when they go to eat, fangs will open up and kind of slash through their prey, sometimes multiple times. So you can see how this would be a very, very effective way of macerating your prey. Now with the megalomorph spiders, again your tarantulas, your trapdoor spiders, we have what's called orthognathic jaws. And that is when your jaws are just pointed straight down. So instead of having scissory fangs like this, we have fangs pointed straight down. And I'm sure as you guys have noticed who have tarantulas, when they bite their prey, they come up, they go down, and then the jaws can also separate like this a little bit, but they will never cross like this, like an araneomorph spider will. They'll never cross. They can move outward to the side again and up and down. So when you're talking about the tarantulas being a more primitive spider, that's one of the things that is referring to. Those jaws, that form of biting is less effective than having your jaws crossed like scissors. This is a quicker way to get into your prey, quicker way to kill your prey than having orthognathic jaws that just move up and down a little bit side to side. Another way that they differ is their method of breathing. As you know, if you have tarantulas have what's called book lungs. If you want to come in close here. And this is a recent molt from one of my Aphonopelma chalcodes, which actually turned out to be female, which I was really excited about. These little white things here, these are their book lungs. And that's their method of breathing. And with a araneomorph spider, they sometimes don't have book lungs at all. They will have either one pair or no pairs of book lungs. Instead, they actually breathe through trachea. Now, a trachea is not the same thing that you think of you and I having a trachea in our throat here. Trachea in a spider or in another arthropod is a system of basically tubule that open at the top and allow air to come in and out. So the trachea, or tracheae for multiple trachea, have little openings on the outside of the body that can open and close at will, and then the air is able to come in and out through the spider that way. And spiders don't have true lungs like we do. So when spiders breathe, they don't breathe in and out like that. Instead, the oxygen, it just kind of passively enters their body and diffuses over either their book lungs or their tracheae. So they take up oxygen in that way. So that's why a spider can breathe even if it's really wet. That's why it can breathe. For example, when you receive a tarantula in the mail and it's packed well, it's wrapped in a nice damp cotton or toilet paper or cloth, it's able to breathe because it's just taking up the oxygen that is in the water and that is in the enclosure that is around it. So that's why you really don't have to worry about your spider suffocating and that kind of a thing unless it's in there for days and days, in which case you would have to worry about it. But they don't breathe in the same way that we do or that other animals do. So let me show you guys some of the other differences here. One of the differences that a lot of people think of when they hear tarantula is they automatically think, oh, tarantulas are bigger. That's true, but not always. You also have dwarf species of tarantula. For example, the Cochiana brunipes, very, very small tarantula. And then you have things like the Neoholothele inside, which is a little bit bigger of a dwarf, but still a dwarf. Sometimes if you saw a spider like that in your house, you wouldn't even necessarily realize it was a tarantula. So some of the obvious differences then, our tarantulas are a little bit more robust. Regardless of size, tarantulas will have thicker legs than an araneomorph spider will have. And again, we have the book lungs here, and I'm going to turn this molt over so you guys can actually see the orientation of the fangs. Oh, let's see, that wasn't a very good turn. All right, so you can see here how the fangs are oriented just right next to each other. And here it looks like it's crossing a little bit, but it's just because this is a molt and it's floppy, so it's not actually going to be crossing if this was on the animal itself. So they can easily move side to side, and they can move up and down like we talked about. but the orientation of the fangs stays up and down, right next to each other. So again, we have thicker legs as compared to an araneomorph spider, which I have here. This is just a little local wolf spider. This is a lance wolf spider. I don't know if this is true for you guys where you live, but around here, anything that is kind of large and hairy spider tends to get called a wolf spider, but that's just not the case. Wolf spiders are members of the family Lycosidae, and they have very specific traits. They're ground hunters. They do not build webs. They, of course, do create some webbing when they move, just like a tarantula does, but they don't live in their webs. Let me see if I can get this guy to come out a little bit better. I'm going to try to give him a little mealworm. Usually he eats real well, but now he's got light in his face, so he may not. Yep, there he goes. So you can see his little legs are very spindly, very thin. Wish he would come out a little better, but that's okay. And he's working on that little mealworm now. So even though a wolf spider is going to be fairly heavy bodied, for an araneomorph spider, still compared to a tarantula, the body is going to be a lot thinner, a lot smaller. I also have here a Phidippus regius. This is the regal jumping spider. This little guy, it's a little male. Cute, cute, cute little guy. He's really, really cute. I just fed him the other day. These guys are real active. And again, you can see how spindly these little legs are. Oh, it's okay, little dude. Much thinner than if it were a tarantula. We covered the true spiders are known as the araneomorph spider. The tarantulas are in the morph megalomorph. And that's the two different morphs of a spider. Again, they're both complete spiders, totally spiders. They're not, you can't say that tarantulas are not spiders just because they're not called true spiders. Again, the term true spider is just a taxonomic term used for something that's more advanced. Then we've kind of picked it up in the hobby to differentiate between spiders, regular spiders and tarantulas as well. I just think it can be kind of a confusing term. So when I'm speaking about them, I'll either say tarantulas and regular spiders, or I'll say megalomorph and araneomorph spider, just because I think it's a little bit more clear what we're talking about there. And then one more thing to mention too. With the Chelicerae, again, we are in the subphylum Chelicerata here. In a tarantula, the Chelicerae, you can see here, this is the top of the Chelicerae here. Maybe if I lift it up, you might be able to see better. Yeah, that's better. So this is the top of the Chelicerae here, where you see it's hairy. You can see there's two pieces here where they spread apart. In a tarantula, the Chelicerae are much bigger, much more prominent than they are in an araneomorph spider. Araneomorph spiders have these, certainly, but they're not obvious, and they're typically more hidden underneath the animal's head, which is called the cephalothorax, than you have in a tarantula. Tarantula, usually their Chelicerae are out big and in the open like this, and with an araneomorph spider, the Chelicerae are going to be kept more under their bodies, so you won't see it as prominently. I could talk about this kind of stuff all day because I love talking about this. I love learning about it. I love teaching about it. So if you guys enjoyed this and you felt like you gained something from it, please let me know. I would like to do a couple other videos like this where we can talk about some of the differences between arachnids and insects. I mean, obviously arachnids have 8 legs and insects have 6. But there are a lot of other differences as well. So if you guys would like to hear some of those differences, we can do one like that. We can also talk about some of the morphological, physical morphology differences between different types of arachnids, if you guys are interested in learning a little bit about that as well. So just let me know if you thought this was interesting and you'd like to hear more. We can definitely do that. Have fun spidering, guys.